it's hard to do. It'd be easy to mess it up. And so when you're thinking about running for us, think about what I said. Good attitude, hard work, accountability. If that's you, we could be very successful together.
I'm going to apologize right now. You've been wonderful, and we have been muted up until the last 20 seconds of your talk. So
Oh, okay.
from the get-go, I had this mic muted, and now we are unmuted. So
Okay.
we're not going to rewind.
All right, that's fine.
But for folks that are just listening in, we'll speed through it. We were attacked. Blah, 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 blah. But here we are now, gearing up for Connections Day on Saturday. It's Virtual Connections Day. Rob has done a wonderful job preparing a segment for recruits that are interested in his sport and in general as well. And Eric Sorrell is going to be doing similarly coming up later this week on Saturday for Connections Day. It'll be a virtual Connections Day, and we now have audio in our show besides the opening credits with Keep Your Distance. Now, you were talking about what it is to make your team. You started a tradition back in, I forget which year, but
17.
Okay, 2017, and it's not a requirement to make your team, but you address your team. You have a nice meeting area over near Stoner Hall on campus, just between Rogers Recreation Center and Oka Court, where you have your team picture taken. And one of those traditions is going to the airport in Middletown and jumping out of a plane. What is that all about, Rob McGinnis?
Oh, let's talk about the skydiving tradition. Yeah, I started this in 17 inadvertently. I had been assigned some homework separately away from the coaching job to go do something which I had no expectation or past experience for it. So the instruction to me was to go do this and just go along with it and be present. And I don't think that the person who gave me the assignment anticipated that I would go jump out of an airplane, but I was headed up to preseason. And so there I was with 10 days in Newport. And I thought, well, what can I do here that's different that I haven't done before? And I thought, well, wait a minute, skydive Newport. Airport in town. And I picked phone and I asked if I could have an appointment to go skydiving. And of course, they were happy to accommodate. So we were into preseason 3 or 4 days, and I ran the morning practice with the team, and we had breakfast in Miley. And then I drove over to the airport by myself and went through the whole process of getting fitted up with the harness and watching all the instructional videos and signing all the waivers. And then it was time to go make a tandem jump. And I had a blast, but none of my athletes knew where I was. And then I posted to Facebook when I was done. So drove back to campus. It was about lunchtime. So I showed up in the cafeteria, and there's my team sitting over in its usual spot. And one of my seniors came over and asked if everything was okay, because she thought that I had been upset with the performance in practice and therefore wanted to go jump out of an airplane as a result. And that wasn't at all. And I liked to her. And then one of the other athletes, Sidney DeCesare, came over and said, well, if you told me, I would have gone with you. And now this is the beginning of the tradition with skydiving. So when Sydney and her classmates came back for their sophomore year, we had our first group go over to Skydive Newport. And the instructors there, Eric and Chris, took great care of us. And we took, I think it was 5 athletes that year.
Yes.
And we all jumped. Our first jump got postponed that week. And we actually went the day of our first meet that fall. So we were on schedule for like 11 o'clock in the morning, and we had to race that afternoon over at Colt Park in Bristol. And so we jumped out of a plane, jumped from 2 miles up, and then later that day we went and won a meet at 2 mile distance. So something must have worked out from the adrenaline or something like that. And then this year we continued it. And so now everyone on the roster who will be a senior next year has jumped out of an airplane. And Morgan Stewart was the lone freshman to do it on the women's team, and then Jay Burstein was the only guy. You know, that
The first guy. The first guy.
The first guy, right? Not the only guy. But we took that original group with Sid and her classmates over, and then the guys said, "Well, what about us?" And well, we've been talking about this all year. Had you not heard? And so when it was time to organize this year's jump, I put it out to the whole roster, and Jay was the only guy to take us up on it. So, we'll try it again next fall. But it is a lot of fun, and I can't say enough nice things about the instructors at Skydive Newport. Totally professional. Everything is done with safety in mind, and I know some of the parents, when they find out that mostly their daughters have gone skydiving with me, they get a little bit worried, although some have come up to me and said, thanks for encouraging her to do that. So I like those responses a bit better, but there have been some surprised reactions to what we did at practice that day.
I do remember in 2018 when Sydney DeCesare waited until touchdown before phoning her dad and said, guess what I just did?
Yes. So Sid waited. I think Francesca Moore waited as well. Kat Bruce waited this year to tell her folks until she was safely on the ground. And hey, we have a great time at it. There's nothing quite like the view from 10,000 feet above Newport. And I know we've got all kinds of pictures and video of that. It's an incredible experience, and it's something I hope we can continue long into the future. I've actually thought about it, and I was going to attempt to get signed up for it soon, was to take the training to learn how to do solo jumps. We've got a airport here in Connecticut that will do training toward what's called an A license.
Not so low that it's really quick, though, right?
No, no, still from 10,000 feet. But they will run you through the process of, it's called accelerated freefall training. And at the end of that process, the certification would be there to jump without a tandem instructor strapped to your back. So probably not this year, given some of the things that are going on, but maybe in the future, that would be a lot of fun.
That is amazing. The fact that you did it in 2018 on the morning or actually afternoon of a late evening meet,
yeah,
up at Roger Williams, hosted at Colt State Park, and then you won that meet. That is a selling point, Mr. McGinnis.
Absolutely. There's a pretty strong correlation there. When three of your scorers are the ones who jumped out of the plane that afternoon, it didn't do us any harm.
We'll have to put that in the McGinnis book of world records.
Oh, definitely.
We're showing the photo montage again of the group that went up in 2018. Smiles on Jillian LeBeau, smiles on Olivia Owen, smiles on Coach McGinnis. What is up with that?
Oh, I can't not smile. It's just such an incredible experience. And thinking back to having been challenged to do something where I had to be present, I mean, you've got to follow the instructions when you're jumping out of a plane. But for me, it's just that once you get past the initial sensory overload of free fall, because that first 30 or 45 seconds is very, very loud, and you've got the wind rushing in your ears. And if you can manage to keep your eyes open and watch, it's a very different experience. But then once the chute opens and you're kind of just going for a ride, it definitely clears my mind. So I can't really compare it to anything else.
I enjoyed it from a ground setting. Someday yes. I will join you on that same adventure. But really,
one of the airplane with us back of the Cessna 182.
Yeah. Well, thanks for sharing that experience with our audience. Look forward to seeing your involvement in Connections Day coming this weekend. Thank you very much, Rob.
Thanks, Ed. Have a good afternoon. Good luck with the rest of the show.
You too. Take care.
Thank you.
That's Rob McGinnis, South Virginia University men's and women's cross country coach. We'll be right back with Tori Bickle, Taylor Bulis, and Kate Foley from South Virginia Field Hockey. Stick with us.
I know sports is important, but having the academic part along with it is a big plus. I've discovered in myself, a newfound ability to overcome adversity at all different angles.
Thanks for your patience out there in Seahawk Talk land. I'm Ed Habershaw from Warwick, Rhode Island, and I'm going to go to 3 different places. This is the most guests we've put on at once. They've been patient, they've been in hold, and I've been struggling with some of my apps here, but we're going to bring in Tori Bickle, Taylor Bulis, and Kate Foley through the magic of Zoom. Here we go. Welcome, ladies, from Salve Regina Field Hockey. How are you guys doing?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Very good. Let me squeeze this window this way. That way we're not covering up Kate Foley. Well, we've got Tori Bickle from Pennsylvania, Kate Foley from Western Massachusetts, and Taylor Bulis from Eastern Massachusetts. What's it like being a Salve Regina junior studying online?
It's not too bad. It's a little harder than being in class. It's definitely, we have to keep up a lot more with our work, but it could be a lot worse. Definitely miss being on campus though, and being like in our classrooms. Definitely took that for granted a little bit, but it could be worse. We're doing okay, I think.
I agree with Kate with that. It's like hard not having like the interaction with all your classmates and your professors and all that stuff.
Yeah, as the same as them, we've been just doing online classes. I've been working from home a lot too, but other than that, like I miss the atmosphere of everyone all together, and spring ball, of course, too.
You guys are sort of experts at this Zoom stuff because I've seen you guys involved in team meetings.
Yeah.
We have team meetings every other week, and then we do meeting with coach with like a little bit smaller amount of girls too. So we definitely have been kept up with it.
Yeah, we're showing on Instagram right now. Or yeah, you're posting it on Instagram. Who's responsible for the Seahawk Instagram account?
Coach Foster runs it. We recently have been able to get onto it, us juniors, a little bit just to do stuff to stay connected within the team. But overall, the coaches run it.
Wonderful. Kate, we'll start with you. You and Andrew Pizzelli has done a nice job of putting some background graphics over this. You have experience of having your season interrupted by injury. So share with the folks out there what it was like a year ago when your sophomore season was actually wiped out due to a season-ending injury right at the beginning.
It definitely wasn't what I was expecting that year, so it was definitely disappointing. It was hard. I took it to heart a lot. It definitely made me pretty sad, but it also gave me more of an appreciation for the sport overall and the team, definitely. I benefited a lot from it, kind of just gaining a lot more field sense by being able to watch all the time. Got a lot better relationship with my coach and everything, kind of just always being like her go-to on the side and everything. And it definitely taught me more about how to be positive. So it was definitely good for me. I enjoyed like keeping the girls, kind of being like the hype person for everyone all the time. But it definitely does stink having to lose their season, and especially like what happened to the spring athletes this year. Our hearts broke for them. We're definitely fortunate that we were able to have our season when we did. But overall, it definitely probably was a good year for it to happen. My sophomore year is better than it being my senior year and my freshman year. So it's definitely not something that I ever want to have happen again, but it could have been a lot worse. So it wasn't too bad.
And that shows you how to deal with adversity. In any stage of athletics, whether it be an injury or what happened this year to our spring sports, you learn to deal with adversity. Taylor, you are a returning member to the all-academic team for NFHCA, so congratulations to the Seahawks as well as a whole, team-wise, but also individually for you. Talk about what academics is all about and how Coach Foster really promotes that for your team.
So, sorry, in academics, I guess that comes first before the sport, even though we all love the sport. We love being at practice, but with her, she said class comes before playing. And I admire that in a way because everything that after this, like, we're going out into the big world. Like, we're not continuing to play, unfortunately, but so her emphasizing the importance of academics within our team causes us to hit the books a lot. Like, we all join each other in the library. Like, we study together. We write essays together. So it's an awesome thing that we do.
Thank you. And last but not least, let's go to Pennsylvania for Tori Bickle, who has a rocket of a shot, is often featured at the top of the circle on penalty corners. Tori, where do you get that rocket from?
I don't really know. I think I just we've always been taught in Pennsylvania, hit hard, as hard as you can and kind of stuff, and just put your whole body behind it, step into it hard with your legs and all that. So that's what I've been taught, and just followed along. And yeah.
Well, Seahawks, we are looking forward to a senior year for you guys. Now, last week when I talked to Coach Foster, one of the things I asked her was about her preseason activities, and you guys have done the ropes course. Will you encourage her to participate in that as well, along with Coach Raleigh Vanderveld?
Yes, I would love to see them have to participate too, for sure.
Well, Tori, Kate, and Taylor, really appreciate you joining us on this edition of Seahawk Talk. You guys are looking good in your respective hometowns. Wish you well with your academics this semester, and look forward to you guys returning to campus in the fall.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
That's, excuse me, let me get to the right clip. That's Tori Bickle, Kate Foley, and Taylor Bulis from our field hockey team. I'm Ed Habishaw. We'll be joining Jane Walsh in our next segment. Stay with us.
Season 3 allows you to be able to give yourself to other things. Not even just participate in them, but really get involved with them if you want to.
There's a lot of interaction. It's not just sitting back, taking notes. You're actually doing hands-on things and better preparing yourself for your major.
Cameron loves me.
Welcome back to Seahawk Talk. I'm Ed Habishaw. Segment 3 on Wednesday, April 15. We've had Rob McGinnis, Tori Bickle, Taylor Bulis, and Kate Foley. And now we go to Portsmouth, Rhode Island for Jane Walsh. Let's head there right now. Hello, Coach Walsh. How are you?
Hi, Ed. I'm doing well. How are you?
Very good. In part of Rob McGinnis's segment, we talked about his skydiving adventure during preseason. Is that something that you would ever consider?
Oh, man. I've thought about that many, many a times. I definitely am scared, which I don't know who wouldn't be. But maybe with the right, kind of encouragement and motivation, I might do it. But I've definitely never done anything that extreme.
Well, what is the biggest risk you have taken?
Well, after thinking about it, I really think it was actually my experience in college, transferring schools and switching majors and trying out for the soccer team at Keene State, coming, maybe less than 8 months off of an ACL reconstruction. It was a pretty big risk. And I was definitely banking on, soccer for my social life there. So if I didn't make the team, I don't know what I would have done.
Coach, what encouragement did you receive along the way that helped you take that risk?
Oh man, I mean, obviously my family was very, very supportive, but really my best friend, Mary, she was a player at Keene at the time and just really encouraged me and said, Jane, you're good enough. You got this. Go for it, and helped me kind of make connections with the coach there and, Denise Lyons and whatnot. And so, with her kind of faith paired with, that of my families, that really just made me feel like, okay, I can do this.
Well, the Keene State Owls, the Salve Regina Seahawks, we all have experience flying and perhaps jumping out of planes. So that could be next in line for Coach Jane Walsh and perhaps, like Rob McGinnis does, some of her athletes.
Perhaps. I mean, I'd probably do it for a lot of money if if it were ever offered to me. But we'll see. Maybe I'll have to ask Rob from his experience with it.
Well, he will tell you that there is some money involved, but it's your payment to the aviation center at the Middletown Airport. Well, Coach,
Right.
your preseason, you have options field-wise. You're at Reynolds Field on campus, Topa Field, and sometimes Gaudet Field. We're showing a clip right now of you working at Topa Field during preseason, and on your staff, you had assistant coaches Silva and McDougal. Talk about their additions to your staff and how they impact the Seahawk women's soccer program.
Right. So, two very strong female personalities that I was super excited to have on staff this year. We called ourselves the trifecta. Just the perfect combination of three, masterminds of the sport and different types of personalities and whatnot. Sue, that was her third season with the program, and she was great. She just knew how to kind of connect with the athletes in a different kind of way that made them feel really calm. She's also very knowledgeable in the sport and really kind of filled in the gaps where, I potentially lacked. And so I appreciated her honesty very much with her feedback for, any of my decisions, and was able to bounce a lot of ideas back and forth off of her. So it was great to have her back for a third season. Hannah was new to the program, but a much needed addition this year. She was our goalkeeper coach, and with three new and young goalkeepers, both with Jenna and Georgia, we definitely needed someone with that kind of expertise. So she was, very direct, really tried to push the three goalkeepers and kind of integrate herself in with them as much as she could. And I think brought, what we needed, at least for last season as well. So I was excited to have her. Sue and Hannah had played together in college at Springfield College back in the day, so that was kind of cool. So they had a previous connection also. I played against Hannah, when I was younger. She's a Rhode Island native as well, so it's just a small world, I guess. But I was very glad and very fortunate to have them on board this season.
And segueing from those coaching connections, we have Connections Day coming up on Saturday. How has recruiting been going for you, and what do you anticipate for the Seahawks next year?
Recruiting has been going well. I've definitely narrowed my scope for next season. As I've talked about before, we have a very large freshman class this year. They're going to make up, the meat and potatoes of our team next season. So this season, I was very selective on who I wanted to add to our program for next year. Still waiting on a few of them, a couple of things with other schools, appeals and whatnot. But right now I have 3 committed recruits that I'm very excited about, hopefully bringing in about 5 total. And these 3 are game changers. I mean, they'll step on the field and they'll make an impact right away and just really enhance what we already have.
And Jane, you wanted to talk about your junior class. Give them a shout out.
Yeah, I'm very impressed with my junior class, just with the way that we've all been communicating, especially, since we've been away from each other, and how they've kind of handled that and how they're interacting with the rest of the team. We meet weekly, not just the juniors, but the entire team meets weekly and kind of, just updates each other, and we kind of have purpose points and, things that we want to talk about for the week. And last week I asked the juniors, what do you want your legacy to be, and what do you want to be remembered for here today? And, with the women's soccer program in particular. And, they said, we just want to be, remembered in a positive light. We're not just concerned about next season, but seasons after that. Even if we don't win the championship, but the year after that, you do, then, or the 2 years after that, you do. We want to, leave feeling like we impacted, those results in some way. So, they've really stepped up in ways that, honestly, I didn't quite expect out of them, to begin with, but I'm very pleasantly surprised.
And that junior class includes Molly Breslin, Cara Cody, Devin DeFalco, Margaret Hanley, Megan and Mia Perros. You got a pair of ADJ majors, Administration of Justice, nursing majors, biology. You got a lot of variety in there as well.
Yes, absolutely. And, that's also something that they touched on, themselves, and talking about, who they are as a class, and very different personalities. Everybody brings something different to the table here. And so, for that, I think we kind of see all perspectives, and take many different approaches to solving problems, but also it allows other people on the team, maybe underclassmen, newer people on the team who are still trying to kind of find their voice or find their way within the program. They have a connection with someone. There's always somebody that they can talk to. And to me, communication is number one. Communication builds trust, and trust wins championships. So very excited with the level of communication that we have so far.
And trust helps you to take risks. And I'm glad you trusted me last week when we took that big risk in playing Alexa Play Song Quiz. I've muted her, so but I really appreciate you taking that risk last week. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. And I've enjoyed this segment as well. Thank you, Jane.
No problem, Ned. Thanks for having me. And I think this is great. I'm excited for future weeks to come.
Excellent. Take care. We'll see you next Wednesday.
All right. Bye-bye.
That's Jane Walsh from Salve Virginia University Women's Soccer. We'll finish today's segment with Craig O'Rourke II from Salve Virginia Men's Soccer. Stay with us.
Division III schools offer academic scholarships instead of athletic scholarships. This really puts the focus that the student athlete needs to maintain that GPA.
I did receive a non-athletic scholarship upon entering school.
I got the presidential scholarship, which was huge for me.
Hello and welcome back to Seahawk Talk segment 4 on Wednesday, April 15th. I gotta ask this guy if he's done his taxes yet. Craig, how you doing on taxes?
No, definitely not. We will be using the deadline extension.
All right. Well, it's there for you. How about direct deposit? Anything arrive in that account today?
No, nothing arrived actually that I'm aware of. My wife checks it.
Yeah, my wife gave me some good news today that we were recipients of the package is it based on the 2018 tax year?
Yes.
I don't know. I haven't followed it.
Yeah, it's based upon 2018. If you direct deposit in 2018, they'll just direct deposit. My question is, how many qualifying children do you still have? Because they are getting up there.
Oh, yeah. My wonderful daughter in New York City is on her own. But our son who attends RIT and then now is studying online, similar to every college student in the country, he's He's doing his work from his bedroom upstairs.
Nice. That's $500 more based upon the stimulus package.
Yeah. Well, Craig, good to have you on the show again.
Good to be back on the show.
We talked off air in Q, and I know you have a lot of folks listening, both current and former players, and that's what I wanted to address was the fact that you have an alumni game every August, part of your preseason traditions. This past year, you were starting to make connections with alumni that preceded your coaching days here at Salve Virginia University, and that includes back to the 80s, where Father John Mead was coming back. He was one of the original coaches of the program. He was coming back. Rob Oswald had arranged a lot of stuff for this thing to happen in June during Alumni Weekend. Yep. Obviously, with the pandemic, that's not happened. But talk about your involvement with alumni.
Well, Rob had reached out to me and was, as you said, coordinating the event for Father Mead. Father Mead was, as you mentioned, one of the coaches who greatly preceded me, even preceded Keith Corey, who had 13 some odd years with the program. And Father Mead now is in Ireland and was coming back to the States, and one of his alumnus, either Rob or someone else, got hold of that information and started coordinating with all of his former teammates and reached out to me as the current coach with what he needed to do in terms of on campus to secure both field space and potential dormitory space. And I put him in contact with the necessary university offices regarding their ability to stay in the dorms. And I think they actually had one almost entire hall, or at least a floor of a hall, dedicated to what they were putting together. They were going to have guys coming in on Thursday and Friday, getting together. This was 15, 20, 25 guys. And they were going to be staying over Thursday, Friday night, playing on Saturday, going out together Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening to Newport. And then potentially they wanted to play again on Sunday. So we actually had Lawrence Field reserved for them for this purpose, that they were going to be able to get, one, if not two matches in and be able to reminisce and have the crew from the 80s. And they actually, sent me photos and old team shots, as well as updating some of the record books information that I had. And they were really looking forward to it. And it was, as you said, nice to connect with a large group of the alumni who had never been represented in our alumni games in August. And we were able to make that connection and add some email addresses to the database and, bring more former Seahawks into the fold of Salve Virginia Athletics.
And how successful your August event has been. This past year, Andrew Pizzelli got to it and shot some video during the play and the conversations that would take place. Little did they know at the time that they were helping your 2019 group win a conference championship.
Yeah, it's always great to see the guys come back, and I'm very lucky in the fact that I do get such a large amount of my former players coming back, and in particular the most recent guys, and even some of the guys from my first few years here are still in very good shape. And our alumni team really gives a great deal of challenge to our current roster. I mean, they're still very good players with very high soccer IQs who are still able to, maintain the possession, move the ball, progress it up the field, get it into the attacking third, and really at times stretch us and make us defend in mass and recognize what our tactical weaknesses are and what areas we need to improve upon. So it's always great to see them come back, and they take it seriously for all of about 15 to 20 minutes, and then the fact that they're alumni quickly sets in, and then they exploit that measure of what they have become to a full extent. And it's always just great to see them come back. God, I look forward to it every year. It is something that is definitely one of the high points of the season for me. And like you said, they really did a great job helping home the 2019 team into what became not only a title contender, but a title winner as they took the regular season and conference championship and went to the NCAAs.
And Craig, that's a tribute to you.
Thank you.
They enjoy coming back. The atmosphere that you created during their playing days, some of them played 4 years, some of them played 3, 2, and just 1.
Yeah,
they all enjoy coming back, being with each other, and getting to needle you occasionally.
Oh, they love needling me. I always tell them during their 4 years that they're not allowed to address me by my first name. That one of my hallmark saying is I'm not your friend. I'm your head coach. My job in being your head coach is to get you through your 4 years to graduation, have you earn your degree, then go on and become a productive member of society. If and when you do that and are able to graduate and earn that degree, then you will pass into the hallowed realm of being an alumnus. And part of the rite of passage is that then and only then will they be allowed to address me by my first name. So part of what they look forward to in coming back and playing in that game is they won't call me coach. They some of them still slip into it simply because of habit and practice, that for 4 years they address me as coach. They don't know any better. But a lot of them look forward to then, crossing the threshold and finally be able to address me as Craig, which I openly allow and look forward to. I don't have any problem with it. I just won't allow the current roster to do it. That is a threshold that they have to earn with their passage into becoming an alumnus.
Well, the amount of respect that they have for you is the reason why they continue to call you coach. And
Thank you.
we've added a feature to our website for all 20 varsity sports. And I'm trying to think if we even had it for non-existing varsity sports like golf. But yours in particular, we were talking about in Q how there needs to be some updates to it. So there is an archive roster for all 20 varsity sports on our website. You can go to it by going to the team sport page, and then the extra menu items to the right include archive, and the all-time roster is a nice feature to go to. So any Salve Soccer alumni checking in, they can see how we've got the updated roster. And for men's soccer, that includes from Ahern to Zupan, over 380 individuals have donned your uniform, and it's a searchable and sortable table. You can click and say, I want to see all 380, and then scroll down this list and see where they're all from. We've got some blanks in there, so please help us out. Come in contact with either Coach O'Rourke or myself or Andrew Pizzelli, and let us know what we need to do in terms of keeping that updated, not just for men's soccer, but all sports.
Yeah, keep those archives updated so that it helps us in terms of our mailing list and getting the information out, especially when we send out the date for the alumni game in August, as well as any updates that the program shares with the alumni base. This past Easter, we took one of the graphics that Andrew created with the Seahawk eggs from the athletic department, and we sent out a Happy Easter notification to all of our alumni that I had in the active database, because just want to keep the connection going, especially now in the pandemic, maintaining the relationship and letting people know that we're thinking about them.
Well, thank you for joining us on this segment. Do you have any other shout outs you want to give us before we end the segment?
Interestingly enough, last week when you asked me that and I said I would reserve my shutouts, I got a number of text messages from current players saying that they want a shout out next time. So yes, my outgoing seniors, Owen Kraft. Oh, that's going to be bad that I called him
way back.
Owen Kraft, Noah Medeiros, who are loyalists and are still here down at campus in Middletown. Evan McDonald, who I'm sure is listening, our All-American this past fall, who's listening up in New Hampshire. Never to be forgotten by any stretch, Dana Sundell, the wayward son who went away and came back. Our outgoing graduate student, Evan Lasky. And if you mention one All-American, you have to mention the other. Our returning junior captain, Casey Kelly, the second All-American from this past fall. Shout out to those 6. And then, in future segments, we'll work on future shout-outs.
Excellent. Well, you're looking good. Thank you for getting ready for this segment. Appreciate you having on, as always. And best wishes. We'll see you next week.
See you next week, Ed. Stay safe, stay healthy.
Thank you. That's Craig O'Rourke from our men's soccer team. What a great day we had here on April 15. Rob McGinnis, Tori Bickle, Kate Foley, Taylor Bulis, Jane Walsh, and Craig O'Rourke II. Hey, everybody. Stay safe, wash your hands, keep your distance, and stay listening to Seahawk Talk.